Today's episode is brought to you by Funky Forever, which sells earrings and pins. Owner Asha Abdullah's designs are unique and, well, funky. And that's a good thing. Visit www.funkyforever.bigcartel.com. Please remember to support Black owned businesses. Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
All right. Hello. We're here today with Yvonne Abdullah. Yvonne has agreed to talk with us a little bit today about her journey. Her husband died when they were a young couple, and she's going to share what that looked like for her and her family. And we're going to talk, just walk. She's going to walk us through her journey. And in full disclosure, Yvonne is a very close family friend of mine and my husband. And actually, her husband was our son's godfather. So we did a lot together. So I'm honored to have her here today. Teresa, did you have anything you wanted to add before we begin?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Yvonne, for taking the time. We certainly appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. So Yvonne, tell us a bit about your family and your husband, Shahid. Talk us a little bit about what was happening at the time that all of this occurred, and just share what you feel comfortable with sharing.
Okay. So we lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, and we had one son in college. Shahid was 39 and I was 37. So he had gotten a degree in criminal justice from the University of Maryland, and I was working for the Federal Reserve. So we had been there 10 years, and he was also a consultant, and we had been married for 18 years. We were childhood sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in December 1989, we found out I was pregnant. Like I said, at the time, my son was in college, and
I remember that.
yeah,
Oops.
yeah. So I had 3 miscarriages. So we talked about it, and we felt like we had been blessed with a son. So I had a tubal ligation.
Mm-hmm.
So we were totally shocked and excited,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when we found out I was pregnant. So that's where we were, before tragic hit.
Right. Okay. Now, so can you share specifics about when you say tragedy hit? What can you share specifics about what happened at that time?
Well, at the time, Shahid, he wasn't feeling well, and he was like a health nut. I mean, he
Yeah, he
exercised.
really was. He really was. Yeah.
Yeah. He exercised, he ate well, made sure, because he did all the cooking. So,
Yeah. And this was, folks, I want you to know, and Teresa, you can relate to this about being a health nut. This was way before other people got on the bandwagon of eating naturally and eating healthy food. He was there already years ago. Yeah.
yes, he was. So he really had never been sick before, but it turned out he had a urinary tract infection, and so he was taking the medicine that was prescribed, but he ended up telling the doctor that he didn't feel like he was getting any better. And so then the doctor told him to come in because he wanted to do some blood work to make sure that he didn't have leukemia. Of course, we were totally shocked, like, leukemia, And when we found out that he really had it, I mean, it like blew us away. I mean, we just found out we was getting ready to have a baby. We didn't know whether that would affect the baby. We didn't know where it came from. We were just like, I don't know, just totally shocked. So we were totally shocked, and so they told him this on a Friday, and they had him in the hospital by Sunday.
What?
So yeah, they because he had acute leukemia, which is what children have, and it was growing rapidly. So
Oh,
they put him in for a hospital on Sunday so that they could start like an extensive chemo treatment for him. So probably by that Tuesday, he just touched his head and a handful of hair came out. And so he was like, get my barber over here, please.
Mm.
And which I did. And he had all of his hair cut off. So then the the chemo, like I said, it was like the probably one of the heaviest doses, to get it in to start working and everything for him. So he was in the hospital for at least a month with this chemo, and a few family members came over to see him, but he decided that he didn't want anybody to come see him but our son, me, his aunt, and his best friends in Richmond.
Mhm.
Those were the only people he wanted to come see him because he said it was just too much seeing them. He was like, he meant everything to everybody.
He really
And
did. Yeah.
and it just seemed like really hard on him
Right.
to see them. So he just asked that, I just let people know that he would prefer, if nobody didn't come right now.
Right.
So everybody in the family was having a hard time seeing him sick.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So he lived 18 months after being diagnosed. And out of that time he was sick at least 3 months. And he was supposed to have a bone marrow transplant, but he had to be in remission a certain amount of time before they could do it. But his younger brother was going to be his donor. Well, after he passed, um, well, of course, we had a baby girl,
Hmm.
and he passed when she was 11 months old, and he worked from home and he kept her. So I mean, she was the apple of his eye. I mean, he
It was.
was doing everything he can, like spending every moment he could with her.
Mm.
And so after he passed, my son he was going to school in Salisbury. He wanted to quit school and come home, take care of me. But I told him not to do that because he didn't know when he would be able to go back and that I was going to be fine. So,
mm. Can you share a bit about the impact? I know you said your son wanted to come home, but you said he'd be fine. Can you talk about the impact on the children, and if you even had the chance to think about the future at that time when he died?
well, of course, it was a very important time in my son's life. He was about to become a man, and his dad was his best friend.
He really was.
So he um he stayed in school, and he had been playing football for years. And after his dad died, he broke his leg in a scrimmage game. So whenever we traveled to Salisbury, we didn't miss a game and anything. But he was in the hospital, and I'm not a long distance driver, so everywhere we went,
Yeah.
Shahid drove. But I had to go over that bridge to get to him in Salisbury, and I just prayed all the way. And when I went to the hospital to see him, like the room was packed with all his football buddies, and they actually lifted me up to get me to the bed where I could see him, and he was just blown away because he couldn't believe
That's right.
that I actually had driven
Yeah,
down there to
yeah.
see him. But God is good, and I got down there safely and everything, and he went on and he finished school. And but when it did happen, we had always lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, and we had moved to Fort Washington, Maryland. And it was just different from me being there because I'd always been in Silver Spring. So I went back to Silver Spring because that's where his aunt was. And my grandmother raised me, and his aunt was like, the one for me. I needed that wisdom and,
Yeah.
and that comfort
Yeah.
from her. And so that's, she was a major, major person in my life at the time to, kind of help see me through what was going on.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to share because I want people to get the full picture of what happened because Shahid really was an amazing man. He was quite accomplished. At his death, he was on Capitol Hill. He was working. Um, as a matter of fact, one of my recommendations to go to law school came from him because of because of his stature and who he was and what he'd accomplished. I kept it. I still have his words. And so he was he was so progressive in his thinking, so intelligent, so committed, very much into events of the day and making sure that, as a community that we were growing. And he certainly was an asset. So I just want to make sure that people get a full understanding of what a man he was. Just such a devoted husband and father. I mean, it was just a very, very rough time. Yeah. Yeah. So so Yvonne, I know that we all know death happens, and we even know that other women have lost their husbands, but it's not to minimize that at all. But what was unexpected for you? What did you, even with your knowledge and intelligence and talking to other people and having, like you said, his aunt around you to give support and wisdom, and I'm sure other people were talking to you, but what was unexpected? What did you not really anticipate that happened as you tried to adjust to his death? Was there anything at all?
Well, I mean, we knew that at some point, you know,
Yeah.
that things might happen, but it happened probably, I guess you never really prepared for it. So when it did happen, everybody thought that because Shahid was my whole world. He was my
Oh,
mother, my father, my everything.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
my mother passed when I was 15, and like I
He
said,
got married.
grand-
Yeah. Yeah.
so everybody, thought, oh my goodness, she's not gonna make it. It's just gonna be just too much for her. But God stepped in, and
Mhm.
I was able to to bear it. But I I spent a lot of, I didn't, go to any kind of grief counseling,
Okay.
but I spent a lot of time focusing on my children. So I never really grieved. Like, it was a long time before I actually grieved.
Mhm.
And when I said I moved back to Silver Spring, the house that I moved in Silver Spring, one night I went in, I put the key through the door, and I got inside. And I think Zanaya, I mean, not Zanaya, Asha. Zanaya is my granddaughter. Asha is my daughter. But Asha was at my aunt's house, and I turned the key and I went in, and I just broke down. It was the first time I had really, really just let go
Mhm.
and grieve, because I was just determined to be strong for
Yeah.
them. But then, I just got on my knees and I just prayed that, you know, I know that he would want me to be strong and to, do my best and take care of the kids. And he knew that I would never ever forget him and how much I loved him. So I just found strength to, keep on keeping on, and found me a church in Silver Spring and got involved in the church, and, you know,
Mhm.
just took it one day at a time. And like I said, I had been job a long time, and everybody on my job was very supportive and stuff too. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I hung in there. It wasn't easy. I'm not even gonna try to make light of it,
Right.
because I lost a part of me, when I lost him, and
Sure.
that's just you know never gonna change. It's been 29 years, and you know it still feel like yesterday.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
Um, Yvonne, was it a conscious decision not to get grief counseling, or were you just determined to focus all your attention on your children?
Um, I I was young and wasn't thinking about, that I was just living my life day to day and struggling and doing what I had to do. And I mean, if I had it to do over, I probably would have. What I did do is at work we had program, and so I did do some
Mhm.
counseling, some talk, but I never went to a support group.
Okay.
So to speak. I just
Mhm.
did some things what they offered at work.
So, Yvonne, you shared about that day when you've been trying to be strong all the time and you went in and you finally just sort of let it go in terms of crying and grieving. But was there ever a moment after all of this, sort of an aha moment, if you will, when something happened to let you know you and Shay and Asha, you'd be fine, that you sort of turned the corner and you would all be okay? Was there anything that happened?
Um, I don't know that anything specific happened. But I knew that you and Nashi had been there for me,
Mhm.
and and my aunt, and I mean everybody was there for me, but I just felt like you guys staying in contact with me and being with me through thick or thin was was like a major thing that happened in my life. And like I said, his aunt was there, and she was the type of person who always said, baby, it's gonna be okay. And so I just sort of latched onto that because I really miss my grandmother. And so I don't want to say nobody else was there for me,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
you guys and his aunt were just like, what I needed
Yeah.
to sort of keep me grounded and focused on the kids. And um you always were very encouraging and complimented me on whatever I was doing positive and keeping it together. So
Well, thank you. That's just because, of course, your family's always been special to us and always will be. I remember when we got the news about Shahid, when I got it, I remember coming home and Nasheed was on the floor, sitting on the floor, and he was hanging up the phone, and his expression, I'd never seen his face look like that. Never seen it before, never seen it since. And I immediately looked at him. I said, "What is wrong? What happened?" Because I knew it was something traumatic that had happened. And he told me then that Shahid was sick. And so that was, and like I said, just to give people a full understanding, this was the couple, as young couples making it together. This was who we hung out with. This is who we did things with. We hung out together. We spent the night at each other's home. We checked in with each other. We made plans together. This was our group. So it was a tremendous loss. But yeah, okay.
well, I knew that it was my children that the reason that I was able to keep going on, because I knew how Shahi felt about those kids.
Yeah.
And I loved them just the same, but he was He was a father. He was a father with a capital F.
Yeah.
And so I spent on a lot of time just focusing on them. And then I realized that I had to focus on myself, because if I wasn't there, who would take care of them? So that too is what kept me going. It's like, I need the strength to be able to take care of this baby,
Mm-hmm.
and of course Shay was grown, but he still needed, his
Right.
special attention too. So, I just became stronger day by day, and
Yeah.
without my faith in God, I don't know where I would be, because I could have easily gone drowned and just, went
Yeah.
astray to alcohol, drugs, or anything just to, kind of ease the pain. But I never was that type of person. So
Right. Right. Okay. And
So, Yvonne, I know this is going to be a hard question because as women, many times we have a hard time patting ourselves on the back. But what did you do right that made navigating his death easier for you and your family, either before he died or after his death?
well, before he died, Shahid used to talk to me about dying, and I didn't want to discuss it. I
mhm.
mean, I knew,
He got sick.
yeah.
Mm.
When I mean,
Okay.
like maybe after he had gone in a second time, or as when I was pregnant, he started talking about, well, we need to talk about it and everything, because when he was in the hospital one time, he couldn't walk, and so he had to kind of learn how to walk again. And I was pregnant, so I had gotten he had gotten me these tennis shoes before he actually had gone in the hospital. And then when he was in the hospital, he told me, I need some of those shoes like you got, so I could start walking. So we would be, walking through the hospital with same shoes on, holding each other up, and just going through the whole idea that he was sick, because he just was such a healthy person. And the nurses, they loved him to death.
Mhm.
And to this day, I have these birds that they brought in his room, to cheer him up on most days. So, I just think that a part of him was, you know with me all the time. And so it just made me feel strong,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I know how he was about his family, and I wanted to, you know, be able to say I did it, just
Yeah,
so he would be proud of me, to know
right.
that, I know you got this, baby. I know you can do it. So
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so what advice can you offer other young women and men who have either lost a spouse or a partner?
well, my thing is, just don't give up. I
Yeah,
mean, you know, you you might feel like it, but if you just keep on, trusting in God and understanding that you'll make it through it, you will. I mean, it's it's my thing was too, is that as much as I wanted him to be with us, I didn't want him to have to live that way. I didn't want him to
yeah,
be in pain. I didn't want to see him suffering. And I know he didn't want to be in pain. Now, one thing that at the, at the end, the day that he actually passed, the doctor had said to me, well, he is going to be a vegetable. He's not going to make it, asking me if I wanted them to, take him off the machine and everything. And we talked about it, and we told the doctor, do whatever you can, just keep trying. So his aunt lived up the street from the hospital, so I went to his aunt's house to change clothes, and when I got back, he had passed. And I was actually thankful that I didn't have to make the decision to pull the plug, and that it happen naturally.
Mm.
'Cause I think that if I had to make that decision, that would have haunted me the rest of my life, and I didn't want to do that, especially after he said, "Do whatever you can," and we were in agreement about that.
Mhm.
So I just say, you got to do what you got to do. And my my daughter was my, lifeline, my encouragement, my whatever. Because Shay went on, and he did well, and he was, what, and I wanted him to live his life. So he was, he went to California, and you know became successful and everything. So I was very proud of him. But I know that little girl was my miracle, because she was a miracle in the beginning.
Yeah.
Since I had the tubal ligation, and then I got pregnant with her, I knew that God didn't want me to be alone. So
Yeah.
so
Right.
I was, all into her, and
Yeah.
now I'm all into my grandbaby. Just know, for anybody out there who's going through, similar situations and stuff. I was young, and Shahid died at 40. My mother died around that age, and now I'm 67 years old, and hanging in there, doing what I got to do, and loving life, trying to be, good to my family, and good to myself, and just praying for peace in this world. So
Yeah.
you know that's where I
Okay.
am today.
Well, Yvonne, thank you so much for meeting with us, and we appreciate you sharing your story.
When we know better, we do better.
Take good care.